You are already inside the ward. The lights are fixed above you, constant and unchanging, flattening everything into the same level of importance. You are standing slightly behind the others, holding a chart that feels temporary, as if it could be taken from you at any moment. Instructions reach you in short sequences, and you follow them without delay, even when you do not fully understand them. No one explains what comes next. You begin as a student nurse, and you notice quickly that hesitation is not corrected gently. It is remembered. You move where you are directed. You stand where there is space. You observe procedures from angles that are not designed for comfort, adjusting your position so you do not interrupt the flow of those who belong here. The environment is crowded, filled with overlapping conversations, equipment placed wherever it fits, and movement that never fully stops. You are not expected to lead. You are expected to align. Your responsibilities are basic but precise. You carry supplies, prepare rooms, monitor small details that others do not have time to consider. Every task is defined, and deviation is immediately visible. You repeat actions until they become automatic, removing variation from your process. The psychological shift begins in small adjustments. You stop reacting to what you see. You begin to observe without interruption. Situations that would normally demand attention are processed as part of the environment. You mirror the behavior around you. You remove visible hesitation. You advance to junior nurse. Now you are allowed controlled responsibility. You are assigned minor patient tasks under supervision. You check vitals, record information, assist in procedures where your role is clearly defined. The environment remains active, but your position inside it changes slightly. You are no longer only observing. You are participating. Your power increases in narrow ways. You can act within boundaries. You can complete tasks without immediate oversight, as long as you follow protocol exactly. Your actions begin to carry small consequences. Accuracy becomes more important than speed. The system reveals its structure more clearly. There are levels of authority that dictate movement, communication, and decision-making. You begin to understand where instructions originate and how they move downward. The cost becomes more consistent. You begin to detach from individual reactions. Patients become sequences of care rather than personal encounters. This is not instructed. It is required to maintain pace. You advance to registered nurse. Now the responsibility is assigned directly to you. You are given patients, and their care becomes your responsibility to manage within the established system. The environment feels more controlled from your perspective. Even though nothing around you has slowed down, you administer medication, monitor changes, and document everything with precision. The chart is no longer something you carry temporarily. It is something that defines your shift. Your decisions begin to affect outcomes in measurable ways. Your power expands. You no longer wait for every instruction. You operate within the system, making adjustments when necessary. You decide when to escalate, when to wait, when to act immediately. The psychological cost deepens. You begin to reduce emotional engagement because it interferes with consistency. You notice that maintaining distance allows you to perform tasks without hesitation. You accept this adjustment without examining it closely. Mistakes are no longer corrected instantly. They are reviewed later, and they remain attached to your name. You begin to think ahead, calculating outcomes before they occur. You move into senior nurse. The environment becomes slightly more structured. You are still on the floor, but your role extends beyond your assigned patients. You assist others, provide guidance, and act as a reference point during complex situations. Your power increases through influence. Others ask for your input. Your experience begins to shape decisions made by those around you. You are not in control, but you are no longer neutral. You begin to manage multiple situations simultaneously. You monitor your own responsibilities while staying aware of the broader environment. You intervene when necessary, often before issues are formally recognized. the cost becomes more noticeable. You begin to prioritize efficiency over completeness. Not every situation can be handled with equal attention. You decide where to focus, knowing that some areas will receive less. You reduce your emotional responses further. You notice that consistency improves when reactions are controlled. You continue this adjustment. You advance to charge nurse. Now the unit itself becomes your responsibility during your shift. The nurse station becomes your center of control. Screens display information that you interpret and redistribute. Staff movement is no longer random from your perspective. It is something you direct. Your authority is clear. You assign tasks, adjust workloads, and respond to complications as they arise. Others look to you before acting in uncertain situations. Your decisions influence multiple outcomes simultaneously. The environment shifts. Subtly you spend less time at individual beds and more time managing the system that surrounds them. You are positioned centrally, observing rather than participating in every action. The cost increases in complexity. You must choose between competing priorities constantly. You decide which situations require immediate attention and which can be delayed. These decisions are not neutral. They carry consequences that are not always visible immediately. Isolation begins. You are no longer part of the group in the same way. Conversations change when you approach. Information is filtered before it reaches you. You accept this shift as part of the role. You advance to nurse supervisor. The environment becomes quieter and more controlled. You move between units, observing performance, addressing issues, and ensuring consistency across different teams. The noise of the ward is replaced by structured movement and targeted interaction. Your power extends across multiple areas. You influence how entire teams operate. You enforce standards, correct deviations, and maintain alignment with broader objectives. You no longer focus on individual tasks. You focus on how tasks are performed collectively. Your decisions affect groups rather than individuals. The psychological cost deepens. You detach further from direct care. You no longer follow cases closely. You rely on summaries and reports. You trust the system to function as designed. Your interactions become more formal. You communicate expectations rather than participate in execution. This creates distance that is not easily reduced. You rise to nurse manager. Your power becomes structural. You shape the conditions under which others operate. Your decisions influence outcomes before they occur. Isolation increases significantly. You are no longer present in daily operations. You observe them through reports and scheduled interact. The connection to the floor becomes indirect. The cost becomes abstract. You begin to see patterns instead of individuals. You analyze trends, identify inefficiencies, and implement changes without direct involvement in their execution. You accept that distance improves clarity. You also accept that it removes certain aspects of the work that were once immediate. You advance to director of nursing. The environment becomes larger and more minimal. Your workspace is quiet, controlled, and removed from operational noise. Screens display data from multiple units. Information is aggregated and simplified. Your power is systemic. You oversee entire departments, aligning resources and policies across a wide scope. You do not respond to individual cases. You respond to patterns. Decisions made at this level affect large groups of people simultaneously. You influence outcomes at scale without direct interaction. The psychological cost becomes more pronounced. You no longer see the details behind the data. You rely on representations. You trust the system to translate reality into information you can act on. Isolation becomes structural. Your interactions are limited to other leaders. Conversations are focused, precise, and detached from direct experience. You advance to chief nursing officer. The environment is quiet and controlled. A large office, minimal furniture, a single desk. The city is visible beyond the window. but it remains distant. The lighting is low, focused on the space directly in front of you. You define policies that shape the entire system. You allocate resources, determine priorities, and establish the framework within which all other levels operate. Your power is complete within the structure. Your decisions influence thousands of interactions that you will never see. You operate entirely through information. There are no interruptions, unless they are significant. Your time is structured, your environment stable. You are removed from variability. You sit in a quiet room, reviewing data that represents lives reduced to structured information. Each entry corresponds to an event that has already occurred, resolved, or unresolved. You do not revisit those events. You do not follow individual outcomes. You adjust the system and move forward. The distance is complete. It does not feel unusual anymore. It is consistent, stable, and expected. You remain in the controlled environment surrounded by silence, making decisions that extend beyond your immediate perception. You no longer see the people. You only see the system.